Oh, thank you all for being here today. And I'm going to start with sharing my gratitude that with the 12-step recovery program and Gray Sheet in particular, I'm very grateful for the service that's been so freely given to me, even by your presence, this meeting, my sponsor, and that service has saved my life. And so that's my gratitude, and I'm going to start with that. Well, I'm Marilyn. I'm 53 years old. Hi. I'm a compulsive eater. And every single day I plan my food off the gray sheet. I call that into my sponsor. I weigh it and measure it. I don't eat in between meals and no matter what. And I'm very grateful for that. Like I said, I'm 53. I live in the woods in a tiny house, less than 500 square feet, deliberately. In Mississippi, about 50 miles on the other side of a swamp from New Orleans. And I have two young adult children, and I have interest. I like gardening. I have a little herb garden. Um, I was an English major. I like literature. I took a 17th century Spanish literature class last year, and I like dancing and adventure. Yeah, so those are some of the things that I like. That's a little bit of biography about me. Um, so what was it like? Well, I was born literally into insanity. Um, I've never known my father. My mother was certifiably insane, mentally ill. She was diagnosed with multiple personalities or dissociative identity disorder. And I never knew who was showing up in my life. My mother was criminally abusive and neglectful. She's also the survivor of horrific trauma. Um, Before I graduated from high school, I moved 22 times. I lived with a lot of insecurity, um, emotionally, financially, a lot of unpredictability. And like I said, I never knew my father. I'm also the survivor of sexual abuse. Um, I was sexually assaulted when I was 8 years old, and my mother, men ingratiated themselves to my mother, maybe for financial and emotional support. I don't think she deliberately prostituted me, but they became my perpetrators. So that's some of my sexual abuse and my trauma. And not only the trauma of what happened to me, I want to focus on what happened internally, and also what part of my trauma is what failed to happen. I wasn't nurtured, I wasn't seen or heard, I wasn't in a safe space, and I didn't have adults around me that enjoyed me. And what happened on the inside, um, I think I lived it like children do. I internalized what was happening on the outside in order to be safe and to survive. So nothing was wrong with that. Everything was wrong with me. I had a core belief about shame, and rather than fear, I think I lived in absolute terror, um, not knowing what was going to happen. It was just a lot of unpredictability. And very early on with my relationship with food, what looks to me like now, I tried to control life by controlling my food. I did some very peculiar things very early, like only eating clockwise, only eating particular things, and I didn't want my food to touch. No items could touch each other on the plate. So I think the best of my ability now, that was an attempt to have some control in my life and to feel safe. And then in early adolescence, I just will very quickly share this. I have this vivid memory of me around 12 years old, after school, home alone in the dark, watching a PBS after school special. It was on eating disorders. I had a 10-pound bag of food in front of me. I ate that whole 10-pound bag. And I sat there and I sobbed from deep, deep within. Such a grief, such a connection, or it resonated with me what I saw happening on the TV with this other young person who was eating. And I began to eat compulsively, bulimically, and I would swing also to be anorexic. Uh, I will say that the severity of my bulimia was enemas, Epicac, Lasix, uh, bulimic exercise,
Five minutes.
training for triathlons, and living in absolute horror, trying to escape reality and anesthetize the intense pain that I felt inside and the fear I felt inside. And it was that I had this pain like a headache, and I was trying to beat myself over the head unknowingly, um, with a hammer, as they say in the big book. I was an escape from reality for me. It was my drug of choice. Um, and there's also a part of me that's very grateful for my disease because it's how I survived for a long time until my basket that kept me, as I say, unraveled and it didn't work any longer. So what happened? In 2000, I went to an eating disorder clinic. It's always kind of funny because I worked in family. I think it's funny. I worked in family law, and my husband, my only husband I've ever had, and the father of my children, was a marriage and family therapist. And so I went to the mental health facility and where he was employed, which I'm grateful for it, and got an employee discount. I checked into the eating disorder clinic and was there for quite some time. And I have a whack-a-mole disease, I call it. I returned to the same place for drug and alcohol treatment. I can be compulsive about relationships, shopping, spending, and debting. I have a lot of compulsivity, a lot because of my dis-ease, trying to fix the internal with the external, and that hasn't worked for me. So fast forward to 2022, I've been abstinent since June 20th there, lifelong. I woke up one day and was sick and tired. I mean, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Not one more Monday, not one more month, not one more decade. I was disgusted. I was ashamed of my weight. And then what I would do, talk about the insanity, is I would see that number or feel so gross. And what would I do to anesthetize myself? I would go get another box of my favorite snacks. And this is something else I wanted to share too, that ironically, where I would go to get my stuff, my fix, is the drugstore. That's where I like to shop for my stuff. I just think that because it was my drug of choice, was food. And so I Googled it. I was acquainted with the 12 steps. It's where I believe that there's true recovery, there's real help there. Not I have done so many things. And I think they have a vested interest in keeping me sick and fat because that's how they make money, whether it's Noom or Weight Watchers. I was raw vegan, still compulsive. You you know the whole gamut. I mean, I've done it for decades of trying to diet, trying to fix the inside with the outside. So I got on Google and I wanted 12-step recovery for my food, for my obsessive eating, compulsive eating. And I found Gray Sheet and I sent an email. And this is where I let me cry. It's one of my favorite parts of my story. And that person got my email and called me. And she's asked me a number of questions. I was still in a fog. And she said, well, do you have a, so she said, well, okay, if you want to do this, do you have scales? Do you have a cup? And I'm like, I think this woman is pushing me into the water. Just this gentle little push, like, we're going to do this now. And I said, well, I have measuring cups and measuring spoons, and I can get myself a scale. And I didn't have the Gray Sheet. And so she gave me some foods to choose from, and I said, okay. And so we made a plan for the next 3 meals, and I committed to eating that and weighing that. And then we would do it again the next day until I would be connected to a sponsor. You probably all know in abstinence how absolutely grateful I am for that woman who reached out to me and then pushed me a little bit. You got your scales ready? Let's do this. I'm like, well, it's not next Monday, right? We're going to do this today. And then a beautiful human being, kind and with firm boundaries, contacted me And she said, I have a slot. And we haven't skipped a beat since. That was the 1st of June in 2022. I was, she has good boundaries. She let me know the program. Uh, Cambridge Gray Sheet program is what I do, and she does. And she says to me one day, that was 5 minutes. Okay, I see you, Pat. Thank you so much. And she said, that was willful. That was defiant what you just did. So you're back to day one, basically. I said, okay. And that was a lesson. So then from June 1st to June 20th, and there we go. And it's been a real it's been a learning curve. Um, I had to learn to plan and protect and prepare for my abstinence. I have a picnic basket right now that's in my car. It has my scale, it has backup food. I don't leave my house without 2 meals. Um, yeah, so, and what's it like now? Well, I had to get sober from the food to start really feeling some of those feelings and healing from that trauma, from that fear and that shame. One of the best things that Gray Sheet does for me is it has quietened my nervous system. I get beautiful food, I get nutritious food, and I get it consistently and on a schedule. And that has just been such a safety for this person. It is so nurturing and so much love and so much self-care for me, who grew up in such a traumatic situation, environment. And now I'm not anesthetizing those feelings with any of it. I've done, last year I worked through the steps in ACOA. I'm learning how to reparent myself, love myself, and have really good boundaries around my food. And I've had a few funny things in my relationships the year, and my relationship with my body has changed. It's been an adjustment. It's been scary at times for me to be in a slender body. Um, and and I've had to make sure that I'm safe. And how do I keep myself safe? So my boundaries, a lot of relationships have changed this past year. That has been a year and a half. That has been one of the most painful aspects initially of my recovery. What has happened though, that as I shed old relationships that didn't work for me, there was this space that was frightening to be in that space, and new relationships have come in, and they are absolutely beautiful. They are people who want me to shine, who encourage me, who love me, who support me. I don't have time or space for people who are going to criticize me, who be mean to me. I don't. And so that's been kind of interesting for me. I've had a few funny moments. My family was very critical of what I was eating. And I looked at my aunt one day and I said to her, I've got really good news for you. And she's like, you do? And I'm like, yeah, you don't have to eat this. As a matter of fact, you can't eat this. This is my food. So responding to people like that and just really being very protective of of um of my food and my abstinence. And there's a part of my brain that says, because I'm worth it. Because I'm worth it. Um, let's see, where am I at on time, Pat? Please.
1.5 minutes left.
1.5 minutes left. So what's the greatest, well, I want to share with you, what's the greatest gift is the sanity, my nervous system calming down, the protection, really taking really good care of myself and loving myself through this program and through my connections. I also have 2 young adult children. They are adult children of an addict, and they are both in recovery. And I'll just quote a couple of things that come to my mind, or that in my recovery, it is a living amends to them, and I am very present for them, and I can model what living and loving myself looks like now and having boundaries with them. That's a great gift of my recovery. I am, and also my relationship with my higher power. I love step 11. And one of the reasons I really like this, I like step 11 is the word improve, because it is devoid of perfectionism. And I can improve my conscious contact with my higher power through prayer and meditation by practicing that on a daily basis. And I think no matter what my whack-a-mole dis-ease is, it comes down to my relationship with my higher power, followed by my relationship with myself, and then my relationship with other people. And so I couldn't have any of that without Gray Sheet. It is for me my mothership. It's where I learned to love and take good care of myself. Thank you all so much for listening to my story and giving me the opportunity to use my voice and be heard and seen and loved and supported. And back at you all.